We get the signs that we need to help us on our journey, but a lot of people let fear talk them out of moving forward.
Hello, leaders, beautiful people, and light keepers. It is Michele Phillips with another episode of Write Your Outcome. The woman with me today is a force of nature. She has been one of my dear friends and inspirations for over 20 years, 25 years maybe. Hello, Kenyatta.
Hello.
I am so excited to have you here. Since I am divulging that we have been very dear friends for a long time, I am first going to read a little bit about her, and then we're going to dive into this juicy topic of love, relationships, and manifesting. So, today's guest is Kenyatta Jones-Arietta, the author of the powerful book, Iron Love. And let me say the subtitle. Manifesting, Accepting, and Nurturing True Love. Kenyatta's story is one of strength, vulnerability, and intentional love. She is a woman who has lived many lives, becoming a mother at a very young age, building a 25-year marriage, stepping onto the bodybuilding stage, and growing as an entrepreneur, all while learning what truly matters and how to love without armor. In Iron Love, Kenyatta challenges us that the idea that love could be soft and fragile, and that real love is forged through self-trust, healing, commitment, and the courage to stay open even when it's hard. Her work reminds us that love isn't something we wait for or earn. It's something we practice starting with ourselves, loving ourselves. This conversation today is going to be so juicy and fabulous. I can't wait. And it's for anybody who wants a deeper connection, whether you're already in a relationship, whether you're looking for a relationship, or you're just coming back from heartbreak. Kenyatta has a lot of wisdom that she is going to share. So let's dive in, Kenyatta. Welcome. So since I've known you, I'll be probably weaving in my own stories through this, but let's start with your story. You know, you came from a difficult upbringing, or not upbringing, but life didn't give you all the cards you wanted as a child, maybe we'll put it that way. But yet you still created a winning hand. But you did it at a young age. Like, you knew what you wanted pretty young. What was like a defining moment where you said, you know what, this ain't working. I need to write a new outcome?
Yes. And it was a very clear defining moment. It was when I was 19. So I gotten married, not to my daughter's father. I had my daughter when I was 17. Her father went to prison for the first 5 years of her life. And coming from a very religious upbringing, you know, the whole idea of shacking up with a guy that I'm not married to was an issue. So I got married at 19, was in business school at Marygrove College in Detroit, and literally driving to campus one day, stopped at a red light. And here I just got this vision of my life. And what I saw was myself there in Michigan, married, multiple kids, but haven't lived, haven't traveled, hadn't explored. And it terrified me. It just really, everything was like, okay, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of this. And I remember going to the bookstore at school, grabbing a pad so that I could write out what it was I needed to do to get out of the situation I was in. And let me first say, my ex-husband was amazing. He is a great guy. He just was not for me, you know?
Yeah. But you had such foresight at 19. I did not get, as I always said, my first spiritual awakening was like in my early 30s, late 20s. So to be, 19 and say, you know what? And have that vision or that intuition, and then go to a bookstore, write, what you wanted. And then you do something even more bold. You leave and you go to New York. So let's talk about that. What's the next thing you do?
Well, in my writing, I wrote, I felt that I was going to be in a big city. So I looked at Atlanta, Miami, Chicago, and New York City. Everything flowed. and you kind of go with the flow. So I got an offer from one of the strip clubs, and I also had gotten a contract from a modeling agency in New York City. So since New York opened up to me, that was where I was going, and I went.
And that's what I love about your book. So first of all, I have to give you the kudos for that bold move, because that is a bold move to be 19 with a baby, husband in prison, or whatever the story was, if I'm getting the facts right. Baby daddy. Sorry. I knew I said it wrong when I said it.
Yeah, my husband was a great guy, minister's son. No,
Okay.
none of that for him.
Note that, remove that from the record.
Yes.
But that's a really bold move. So you've always been a bold person. And I love how you unabashedly tell your story about working in strip clubs, trying to be a model while trying to raise a daughter. And let's talk about that, because there's such a stigmatism around all of these things, being a teen mom, working in a strip club. What I've always loved about you is you own your story and you don't shame yourself for it. That is such a huge thing for everyone listening.
Yes. It is very powerful, because the bottom line is this: I can control the narrative, or I can let someone else tell my story. And for me, I've always, listen, if I own my own stuff, then they don't have power over me.
Oh, okay. We need to stop at that. Everyone listening, if you have secrets, if there's skeletons in the closet, it's not doing you any good, right? So it really is a relief. There's a saying I used to say years ago: when you tell the truth, there's nothing to remember.
That's right.
Right? Because when you're lying, you can't, what did I say? What did I make up? So it really is powerful to own your story. And then I think, to me, that helped you keep writing your story. What were your earliest wins when you moved to New York?
Earliest wins. You mean aside from the two jobs?
Yeah. So then now you get this job, you move to New York, but then you still.
I sent them packages of, photos with my stats, and both were open. And literally I can remember going to Flash Dancers, meeting with Marsha, and then walking over to the Empire State Building and meeting with, I can't think of her name right now, unfortunately, but Grace Del Marco was the agency. And so it was a win because it opened up. Now, one thing that happened also, I had a false start coming to New York. Okay. I came to New York before I got married. And I wasn't ready. I was scared. I hadn't had a well thought out plan. I thought I was going to go to fashion merchandising school. And then I freaked out, went back home. But my mother was like, the only way you're coming back home is if you get married. And so we kind of jumped into that marriage to appease her. And honestly, for me to be able to go back home.
Yeah. So let's keep going to iron. I want to bring back the iron love theme, or, cause you have the husband, the baby daddy, but you're still not with your iron love yet. You go to New York, and, I read the book. So I love how you write down what you want in a man. And then you put it out in the universe. So talk about that. And you hit it under something, I forget.
Yeah, this happened years later. I had been in New York, been through a few relationships. A few.
But then you saw a pattern, correct? When did you see the pattern?
I'm trying to think of when I really recognized it. I think it was one of my exes that kind of helped me to see it. Yeah. And it seemed like I was interested in guys who were fun to do everything with except for a committed relationship. But then there was also the thought about me, was it that I wasn't ready for that? I think the whole, especially being married at such a young age, the whole idea of something so permanent was a little scary. So it's like, even as much as I wanted it, I also feared it. And a lot of iron love, that journey is coming to terms with, okay, am I ready to lay down my fear and move forward with love?
You bring up something so important, because it's such an interesting paradox in our culture. You go, oh, everyone's out there looking and looking and looking. And then you find someone like, oh, ball and chain, now it's over. It's like we have these horrible stereotypes of like, we want our freedom, but yet we don't want our freedom. So how do you've been in a 25-year relationship, which is so beautiful. And people listening, I have witnessed their love. I've witnessed how they support each other. But how did you get to that? And you talk about that in the book too. It wasn't always that way. So how do you navigate those ups and downs of having an iron love that can last 25 years?
Oh my God. The fact that this man was able to put up with me for so long. But I mean, like these are the things that you have to live life to get to that point, so going back to my coming to the point where I'm like, okay, I need to manifest something. It literally was like, I would be in a relationship for 2 years. And then at the end of the 2-year mark, it was like, it was done. And, it's interesting because who I was in those relationships and who I presented myself as to Rudy were two completely different.
Talk about that. Well, who were they?
So the dating, when we date, right, we want to put our best foot forward. We want to make sure we're always dressing nice, smelling nice, very personable, very friendly, It's
like the dating resume.
Exactly. Yeah. But no, when I wake up in the morning, I have crust in my eyes, Yes, I fart.
So you have crust in your eye, you fart. Yeah. I do too.
And he absolutely loves every bit of it. Where with all the other relationships that I was in, it was more like me trying to impress them. That I am good enough. See, I'm good enough. I can make dinner. Now I don't cook.
Yeah. I had to get over that. I used to try to be Martha Stewart. I'm like, no, not on my resume.
Yeah, no. I mean, it was, but then my position changed, So I did those things when I was staying at home with the kids. But when I started a business, I needed to run the business. And my time is more valuable running the business than it is cooking.
So when you decided you wanted, tell us, we sidetracked, but tell us what you wrote on that piece of paper, where you did it, and then how you found it again.
Oh gosh. Well, let me tell you how I came to it. It was a movie, Practical Magic.
Yes.
And in the movie, I won't tell everything because some people may watch it,
I watched it again after reading your book.
I introduced my granddaughter to it, Yeah. But in it, Sandra Bullock's character tries to dream up a man that can't possibly exist because she doesn't want to fall in love and she doesn't want to suffer the heartbreak that her family has dealt with for generations. Being a line of witches, the curse was any man that they fall in love with will die. Yeah. So she's like, okay, this guy will have one green eye, one blue eye, he'll flip pancakes like cactuses, and then one day this guy actually walked up and knocked on her door. So that's where I'm going to leave the movie. But after watching it, I literally was like, I'm going to try that. Not even thinking that this was really a real thing. So the journey that I've had, I've fallen into things not knowing how I fell into
or
them.
Attracted them.
Yeah. So like just the whole idea of gratitude, of manifesting. They were just things that hit me like, oh, I should give this a try. And then, of course, you find out, wow, that's a real thing. And it really works, I
want to stop you on that because it's very important for people listening to be open-minded to try something new.
Yeah.
We get stuck in, oh, that's not going to work. There's a joke that if an optimist reads in the paper, oh, apples make you healthier, the optimist goes, oh, I'll eat an apple. And the pessimist goes, that's probably not true. So the fact that you were open. So anyone listening, whatever you want to manifest in your life, it's being willing to try something that you really don't know if it's going to work or not. But you wrote down the characteristics you wanted in which he was now your husband, Rudy.
Everything that I wrote, I wanted somebody that I could build an empire with. I wanted somebody that would love my daughter as their own. I wanted somebody that was secure enough in themselves where they wouldn't smother me. I wanted somebody that cooked, but I ended up with a
bonus points.
Yeah. And the things that I didn't write, like I didn't write what he would look like. Right. I didn't write his age, and I didn't write how much money he would make. Actually, I wrote somebody that I could build an empire with. So that
Yeah.
would be different than anyone I dated before, because most of the men that I had dated already had accomplished quite a bit.
Right.
So there wasn't really room for us to grow together, you know?
So I like what you're saying. So anyone listening, it's really knowing what you want. And women tend to, I don't want to say we settle sometimes, but when
But
you're
we do.
lonely, or you're looking for love, like you could be the most powerful woman, killing it at work. And then love is a vulnerable place. I always think like when I could be so confident and charming. And then when I get around a boy I like, it's like, oh, I lose it. I can't be cool anymore. I lose my cool. So love is a tricky slope. So you write down what you want, you manifest this beautiful love, you've worked at it over the years. And I
But I
want
think
to talk,
one
oh, go
key
ahead.
point to keep in mind, the only way you know what you want is by having experienced things that you don't.
Yeah.
Because you don't really know yourself. I mean, we don't come into the world with this whole, okay, this is what Kenyatta likes and this is what Kenyatta doesn't like. No, you have to figure it out. You know, that's just from being a child where you're introduced to apricots and pears and one you like better than the other. But you don't know until you've stepped out and explored.
Hello, I am interrupting this podcast to give a plug for my brand new book, Energize Your Happiness. I am so proud of this book and I can't wait for you to read it or listen to it because it will be on audio as well. And I just want you to know you don't have to push so hard. You don't have to be so stressed. You have all this beautiful energy inside you. And when you learn to manage the energy, when you learn to focus your energy, everything starts to fall into place. So energize your happiness, tap into your personal energy and shape your destiny comes directly from my heart to your heart. It's available on lulu.com. It's available on amazon.com. And if you'd like a personally signed copy, go to energizeyourhappiness.com and I will personally sign and autograph a copy and ship it out to you. So Energize Your Happiness is available right now. It makes a great gift for the holidays. And if you're hearing this after the holidays, it makes a great gift for Valentine's Day. New Year's, you name it, it makes a great gift. Make it a great day. Back to the podcast. You also believe that, and I'm assuming, let's talk about this, that your iron love was out there. I know when I went through my divorce, I was so lonely. I'd been with, my first husband for since I was 21, now I'm in my 40s. And I hadn't experienced that depth of loneliness before. And I found this passage in a book and it said, I am a magnificent woman worthy of great love. And deep in my soul, I just felt like I will be okay. I will meet my great love.
Right.
But that belief, did you have that belief from the start? Did it build? Where does that come from in you?
As far as me.
Well, the belief that the iron love exists. I mean, the first thing you say, build an empire. Not a lot of people say that. People, let's build a life together. Kenyatta goes, let's build an empire, right? So let's go there first. So did you have, I guess my question is, when you were writing those things on the paper, did you believe an iron love existed for you?
I did. No.
You were just open to it.
I was just open to, I saw this on a fictional movie that just had my heart going. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. I have to try this. It was just, I guess I hoped that it was a true thing or that it was real. But my intention was honestly feeling love, just sitting there with the paper. And what does that feel like? What would that feel like to me? And so I can say one of the things that is big about manifesting is the emotions, like what you feel. So whether or not I believed that the love was out there, when I was writing it, I completely felt the love.
And that's the thing. So years ago, I've been doing this since 1997. It was like, write your affirmations and say them out loud. And for the first 2 years, I was like, nothing's happening. And I'm saying all these things. And that was my missing ingredient, the feeling. So when I really learned that you have to feel as if it's already there. And anyone listening, if you're looking for love in your life and you don't have it or you're having heartbreak, you could focus on the love of a child, the love of a pet, the love of the mountains, and you still get that beautiful feeling of love that will then emote out to the universe.
Exactly.
Which is what, again, over years you've learned. And Kenyatta, there's a point in the book, and I know since we've been friends, we had the conversation where you're going along in this marriage, you have 2 more children, and, at one point you're going along and you go, you know what? I feel like it's all on me a little bit. This isn't, the partnership I wanted isn't exactly half and half or partnership or whatever.
Right.
And you go, we need to shift this. So this is so important because people think, oh, we go off track and then we just keep moving in opposite directions. But no, you brought the train back on the track. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So there is a situation that actually happened. I don't want to share that because I want them to read it in the book, but there's a situation that happens that kind of brings us to a head of starting to talk, like really talk about things. And part of that, you can call it my midlife crisis when I found out I was going to be a grandmother. So, when you start to think of being a grandmother, you start to think about your mortality. You start to think about, okay, my life is behind me, but it's not. It's not. It's not unless you say it is, I'm like, I still know that the best years of my life are still in front of me,
So talk about that. So not everybody feels that way, right? We get to, over 30, over the hill, right? I'm way over 30 at this point.
Going back to what you said again about trying something new. About trying something different. So what happens is our brains, and you obviously we know this, our brains are set to keep us safe. And so when we go about our lives or whatever, and we get into a groove, then we get to a point where it's comfortable and it's safe. So then we kind of get on that rat wheel where we're just kind of reliving the same day over and over and over and over again. And then to find like bits of joy, some people shop to death, some people resort to alcohol or other things, when all it really is starting to shift out of that pattern, shift out of that cycle, even if it's as little as driving down a different block.
So how did you do that with your iron love?
How did I get
shift out of the pattern? Yeah, because you could watch Netflix, go to work, watch Netflix, go to work.
That happened caused us to talk, and I shared that I felt like I needed a dance partner. Not somebody just to kind of like pull along with me, but somebody that I wanted to do things with. And so Rudy, he has a very high powered position as well. He's the assistant superintendent now, but at the time he was a teacher and a department chair. And just, when you get taxed all the time, when you come home, last thing you want to do is something else or think of something else. But at the same time, you have to, you choose to, because you want it to keep growing. But when you get complacent and you're like, yeah, this person's here, that's when it starts to fizzle. And it takes only one person to say, hey, you know what, this is really not working for us. Let's try something different. And he was willing to do his part and has gone above and beyond.
But that's the strength of the iron love, because you have a willing partner.
Yes.
Would you have any advice for someone who maybe don't have a willing partner, or someone who's not, willing to, do things differently?
I don't want to go there.
Okay, we won't.
Because everybody has their journey.
Yeah.
And it would have to be up to them, because if they wanted a change, they'll make a change.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I say to people. It's, I was in a marriage for many years and I knew I wanted to leave it, but it wasn't horrible. And what got me to leave finally, and it wasn't a bad person either. I still love him to this day. But I read it in a book. It said, would you want your daughter, if you had a daughter, would you want her to have a relationship like you? And I was like, no. So if I don't want my daughter to be in a relationship like this, well, I'm not going to stay. And it doesn't make him a bad person.
Correct. Just not for you.
Yeah.
Not for you. So definitely And it's so funny because like my youngest son who turns 19 this weekend, we were talking last night. I was coming home from dinner and we were talking about relationships. And he said, "Yeah, you and dad have patterned such a great example for me. I won't accept less."
Isn't that beautiful? You should be so proud of that. You have.
It really, it was like, oh my God, then we've done our part, you know?
And I want to say to that because I have watched you over the years. I know you for a long time and you really are a beautiful support system. You both have very different personalities, very different goals, but yet you support each other. So it's not like we have to do everything together and be tied at the hip. You really support each other in becoming the best versions of yourself.
Yeah.
Can you talk to that a little bit? Because I just admire that and I think it's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, so when I talk about, listen, there's only two things that are definite: that you are born, if you're here, congratulations, and that one day you'll die. Those are the only two things that are definite. Everything else is up to you. But at the same time, you may choose to be a partner with someone, but you can't lose sight of the fact that we're both still here on our own journeys. You know, there are lessons that he has to learn that are completely different than the lessons that I have to learn. However, we do have things that we can do together and grow together, but that doesn't negate the work that we have to do individually.
Yeah, that's a beautiful, and to me, that goes back to what we were talking about earlier about we want to be free, but we want to be together, but we want freedom.
Yeah.
But you really give each other
kind of what it should be.
That space. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you want that space to grow. You also want that space, you know, like I may go to the cabin in Michigan for a few days to turn the rug.
Yeah, exactly.
But it also gives us some space so then I miss him. Yeah. You know, if we're joined to the hip 24/7, what is there to talk about? You know, you're having the exact same experiences. What do you have?
Yeah. And that's that level of trust, that level of understanding, that level of support. You know, what does my partner need from me right now? It's not always what I need.
Mindful of that.
Yeah.
And that, you know, that's something, again, we're all human. I'm still growing. I'm not perfect, you know, but I have those moments of, okay, what does he need?
Yeah.
What does he need from me? How can I support him?
And what you do so well is you give him what he needs without losing yourself.
Absolutely.
Now, Elizabeth Gilbert, I have not read her new book. I can't remember the title, but the whole thing is about her being addicted to love, that when she gets into a relationship, and then, you know, when in the beginning of a relationship, it's so magnetic and exciting. And then the person goes back to work and goes back to their own hobbies. And she's like, whoa, pay attention to me. And she starts begging and groveling and doing all these things to gain attention, where a healthy relationship realizes you still have to go to work, drag the recycling bins to the curb and do the laundry.
Right.
That they're not your full focus all the time like they were maybe in the beginning.
Right. But I mean, and it just, that sounds to me like what I did in my dating years.
Oh, and I've done it, right? Yeah.
Like you relinquish your power.
Yes.
To him, and it's all about him and his goals and what he wants to accomplish. But no, mine are equally as important.
And you said that when you said it earlier. I forget how you said, I want to meet someone who loves me but doesn't smother me.
Yes.
Yeah, supports me.
You know, because for me, these bodies are vehicles. You know, like I didn't choose the color. I didn't choose the sex. I didn't choose the shape. Like I can manipulate that a little bit through exercise and diet, but this is what I got, right? But my soul, my consciousness has none of this. So I connect with people. It doesn't matter if they're male, female, trans. It doesn't matter. I connect with the person. So I need a partner who is comfortable with that. You know, like you can't see me arrive at a party and go and hug and kiss a guy and be like, what's she doing? You know, like that.
But that's so beautiful, you know, and I want to, but you laid out these, I don't want to call them boundaries or deal breakers. And you found someone that's totally comfortable in his skin. That's and Gary is too, because I'm like, you know, crazy. I talk to everybody. And it's, you need someone that, he doesn't even flinch, which I love,
Comfortable and
but
confident.
all
Yeah.
those people out there realizing that there are beautiful men out there, women, trans, whatever you're looking for.
Mhm,
There
mhm.
is somebody out there that could see you, that you see them, that you could grow together.
Correct.
Now, I want to shift the conversation because we're talking about manifesting love, but I want to talk about just manifesting in general, because this book is more than, it's about love. It's about relationships. But it's also about signs and intuition and manifesting. And that kind of intuitive hit you got at that traffic light at 19
Yeah.
has really deepened into something really powerful. So let's talk a little bit about your journey about manifesting and seeing signs.
Okay. So the signs journey, that one has been evolving over my lifetime. When I started the brokerage, it was hearing that voice in my head. Like I get it here. And literally it was, you're going to open your own brokerage. We all have that voice. It's that thing. So when you're thinking about your friend and then the phone rings and it's that person you were just thinking about, we all get those signs, but we don't always listen.
Yes.
I think what most people do is they get it here and then they let the other side talk them out of this brilliant idea, and when it really first started, like where I recognized it was a thing is when I committed to opening my brokerage. And then I got in my head faces of people to call, and each one of them that I reached out to was actually ready to jump on board with me. So it's like we get the signs that we need to help us on our journey, but a lot of people let fear talk them out of moving forward. Yeah. And so I'm working now. Believe it or not, I'm 70 pages into the next book.
Oh, very excited.
All of the signs. You can't make this shit up. You may need to bleep that.
It's okay. We could curse. It's podcast.
But it really talks about the journey to writing for me. So I've been journaling since I was 19. I journaled before that, but then my mom read my journals, so I stopped journaling until I was on my own. But I have journals now from when I was 19 up to when Rudy and I got married. Then started having kids, whatever, you don't journal as much. But through that, I have been able to recognize, like, there are things that pop up. There are signs, there are patterns. But moving forward with book number 2, it's about how I took all of the experiences from my life. And initially, I've tried to write multiple books, but it was me trying to write my life as fiction. And I later got these are stories that, like, these are experiences for you to actually share because people will learn from the real story. And so that's what was different about my writing before. So I started with the journaling, then I started with the fiction writing. But then with Iron Love, it was the first time that the story just, like, it was there. And
it's your heart.
It needed to come out. And it hit me that this was meant to be a book because it was my truth, as opposed to me trying to get the story out, but change the truth,
I love that. Can I stop you? So something so important that I've seen you do, and I want people listening to see, is what Kenyatta's talking about. Oh, I'm thinking about Kenyatta. And then the phone rings. Oh, I was just thinking about you. To say thank you, receive the message. Like, so really you got the sign to go to New York. You went to New York. Oh, well, then the job's opened. So what you've done so brilliantly is you've taken these steps. You don't just build an empire. You don't just, wave your magic wand and you have an empire. But I wrote the foreword to her book. I'm very proud to say that I was just so humbled and touched when she asked me. But I remember when she said to me one day, either I'm going to start, I don't know, a fast food business, be a professional bodybuilder, or go into real estate. When she started her real estate business, she rented a little room in the back of a room on the second floor, and she hung this little flag on the street. Yes. But the beauty of Kenyatta is she just start where you are. And then that little flag, then she got the front room in the second floor. Then she got the one down around the corner. Then she got the one on the street. Now she owns the building that was in. And on her 10th anniversary, she put a billboard on a major thoroughfare. And I think, oh my God, she started with this little flag and now she has a billboard. So anyone listening, when you get those little hits, what's a step? Celebrate those little baby steps.
Yeah.
Because Kenyatta does that brilliantly. So you have been such an inspiration to watch you do this.
Oh gosh, but I would be remiss not to share. You helped me so much on my journey. It was, when we go back to when we met in kickboxing, right? And then you invited me to a seminar you were doing, 21 Days to Create a Habit. That little nugget stuck. And that's how I was able
She became a professional bodybuilder.
I'm like, if I can stick to this diet for 21 days.
I remember when you said to me one day, when you could only have 4 almonds, you picked the big ones.
15.
Or whatever it was. And I'm even going to share one more story. I have so many Kenyatta stories. She was recognized, I can't remember by who. Last year I went to this awards dinner where she was recognized, and the man stood up.
Meals on Wheels?
Meals on Wheels. The man stood up and he said, I started getting these random checks for odd amounts from Kenyatta Jones-Arietta. So when Kenyatta started her real estate business, she gives 3% of her commission to a charity of your picking choice in Rockland County.
In the county that the house is sold in.
Yeah. Sorry, in the county that the house is sold in. And she didn't wait till she had $1,000. Like if the check was for $130, he goes, we started getting these random checks, but over 10 years, the total, I can't remember what it was significant. So you're so brilliant at starting where you are. I wish everyone can see her beautiful smiling face right now because she's beaming. And then we motivate each other. So, she's part of my tribe. I am just so blessed to have someone so inspirational in my life.
Both ways, sister.
Yeah. So where can people buy the book? Where can they follow you, find you?
Yes, I am on Instagram. You can find Iron Love Book or Kenyatta R2M. My website is ironlovebook.com, and we just released the audio book.
Yay! Iron Love. It is such a beautiful read, that one. And I know a lot of your stories, so it still was good reading it, even though we've been friends for so long. I read the book, and then when I was finished, I said to my husband, I'm reading this to you. Oh. So, over coffee, and we've done that in the past. I love reading to him. So over coffee, because the messages, even though, I've been doing this a long time, just your goal setting messages, your never give up messages. I did not have a childhood like you had, and you had some abuse in your life, and it's all in the book. I'm not going to spoil it, but you got up every single time, dusted yourself off, and have just created this empire and this beautiful manifestation, which she is the real deal and a testament. So what final words of wisdom do you have for the listeners?
The final word of wisdom that I have is to listen to the first one. If it's coming from a place of love and positivity, it's the right one. I think a lot of people, unfortunately, they overthink things and then they think themselves out of wonderful opportunities. But I am going to show you the way.
Yes, you are. You're already doing it. So just following her is going to make you feel better. So thank you so much, Kenyatta Jones-Arietta, for being on Write Your Outcome. This is Michele Phillips with this week's episode of Write Your Outcome. Please follow Kenyatta, buy her book, and make it a great day. That's a wrap for today's episode of Write Your Outcome with me, Michele Phillips. If something sparked in you and you enjoyed this podcast, please don't forget to rate, review, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Let's keep these ripples going and make it a great